Hello? Ah, hello, welcome back. You're back, I'm back. We're back here at the Practical Classics Workshop because this is Fixing Up.
So far on Fixing Up, we've restored a magnificent VW T4 camper van, a glorious Mercedes SL 320 and an absolutely stonking Mark II Golf GTI.
But this time we've got something completely different. It's not a sports car, it's not even a collector's car. It is a really niche choice, but mark my words, this is one modern classic that in 10 years' time will be an absolute surefire entry to every classic car show in the land. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be doing a Ford Mondeo. Now, before you fall off your chairs and say, what, have they gone mad? Let me tell you a few things about this car. It is a Mark 1.5 V6 Gear X estate. That's the top of the range flagship. It's got that fantastic, silky smooth 2.5 litre V6 engine. It comes fully loaded. Ford piled everything they could. They threw everything at this car. So it's got all the leather, it's got the auto gearbox, heated seats, cruise control, aircon, the works. It's also an estate, which to my mind makes it the ultimate practical classic. I know it's going to be a difficult sell to Clive. I know he's going to take one look at it and give me a bit of an ear bashing. However, to help with that process, I think I'm going to make a bit of a theatrical event out of this. So I'm going to put it back into the workshop. I'm going to drop the shutters, put a nice chair out here and make him a cup of tea. Hopefully that'll bring him round. So that the old man can be as comfortable as possible, I have prepared a viewing gallery right outside the workshop and some instructions just in case he gets confused. So now all we have to do is wait. I'll put the kettle on.
So here we are again, and at this point I get that sinking feeling in my stomach because I just know it's going to go really wrong. Sit here and be amazed. I don't think he can spell disappointed. Bring it on.
Mr. Jefferson, it's that time again.
Yes, it so is.
Let the magic commence. Ta-da!
My office now. What were you thinking? You promised me a classic English sports car to use in the summer.
Well,
that isn't one.
All right. Look, that's what everybody else would do. Every other classic car show in the country, we go for a classic British sports car and a classic British summer. But we're different, Clive. We don't want that kind of cliche. We want a car that people actually remember. Something surprising. Something that no one else has restored yet. I haven't seen a Mondeo restoration yet, have you?
No, because most of them go down the banger track.
Well, exactly, and we've saved one for posterity. Don't you think that's important?
Yeah, it is, I suppose. Come on.
Let's have a look. Ow.
Shut the shutter, Danny. I'm still finding this a bit embarrassing.
All right. Right, look, let me show you some of the history of this, because I've actually cleaned it up for you.
You've cleaned it?
Yeah, I have. This car lived for 8 years in a hedge, all right? So let's have a look. I'll show you what I did to it. I'll show you what it was like when I found it first. Look. There you go. That's what it looked like.
That is disgusting.
I know. So it lived in a hedge for 8 years. I originally owned it 10 years ago. And then the person I sold it to did a bit of a fix on the gearbox fault, and then they parked it in a hedge for 8 years. But I spent a long time, look at that, moss. Yeah. I spent quite a while cleaning it up to impress you, obviously, but it is a bona fide barn find. But the thing that really sells it to me, the thing that really makes me excited by it, is the fact it's only got 53,000 miles on the clock.
Right, that's rare then.
So if we do this right and make it good, we've got a brand new Minter on our hands. And that is something that anybody would want to win, surely.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we should get it up in the air and have a look underneath, because genuinely, I haven't got a clue. It could be game over from the start. Right, well, here we are. She's up in the air, but we've got to get our overalls on and all our PPE kit before we go under there. So ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow, amazing. You look wonderful, Mr. Jefferson.
And you don't look so bad yourself, Danny.
Well, here we have our Amazon Basics gloves and PPE, and you're holding a very nice looking Bosch
so I'm going
torch.
to deploy this beastie.
That's a bit hefty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's do battle with this then, shall we?
Yes, let's see what we haven't got.
Okay, I'm already seeing rust, but it looks quite surfacey.
Yeah, it doesn't look too bad.
Yeah.
And that's just the tow bar there, so...
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Reach up into there, and again, you peel off the underseal, and it's still solid.
Yeah.
Look at this on some of these suspension components. I've seen an awful lot worse.
Yeah, it's pretty good, considering where it was stored.
Yeah. Nice and solid. I think one of the things is, you know, cars that live on the road for years and years and years and go through winter after winter of salt can sometimes be an awful lot worse than stuff that's stood. It's actually not looking too bad. What's it like over there on the sills, back end of the sills?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
looking a bit... Yeah, I think we're going to be welding that bit, but that's okay.
We've ordered the arches through Amazon and they're coming. So we've got an arch for either side. Is it inner and outer, do you think, or not?
Yeah, but I can still see the two skins of the wing. Yeah, it's a bit of both. But we'll never tell until we cut the outer off anyway.
I've got a feeling I'm going to be under here a lot with a wire brush.
Rather you than me.
This side is going to need, obviously the arch on this side's going to need doing, but it's not that bad. So walking up the sills, on the outside of the sills, they were looking really quite crusty, but they're okay, aren't they? You're taking some of this stuff off.
Yeah, that'll clean up.
Again, it's wire brush time. There's nothing there that's going to hold. I exert a little bit of pressure. Finger pressure, as the MOT tester would. Chassis rails look excellent. Catalytic converter still in place, hasn't been nicked. So the only major work we've got to do, bodywork wise so far, is the rear arches.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, hello.
Oh, that looks like, oh crikey, what's going on here?
Where the stud snapped and the flexi joint has moved.
Well, I suppose.
Yeah, look, because that's going straight to...
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, all the studs have sheared. Oh, that's all right. We just drill them out and replace them with a new gasket.
A hell of a racket.
Yeah, but it sounded like a
when it was running.
Spitfire.
A bit of news that you need to know, and that is I haven't actually heard it run. Now, I am told, and I remember it was a beautiful engine, it ran really, really well, but I haven't put a battery on it or anything. I don't want to start it up until we've got everything straight.
Well, I wouldn't put a battery on it yet because I can smell horrible old fuel down there. And I shouldn't be able to smell it that strongly.
No, not at all. So we maybe need to drop the tank and clean that out.
Yeah.
I'd probably like to change the oil before we do that, so we turn it over with clean oil rather than dirty.
Yeah, definitely. It's good practice if it's been standing that long.
Yeah, so I always hate seeing barn finds like fired up within minutes of being discovered, because it just sends all that horrible oil around the engine, horrible fuel through the carburetor or the injection system. It does more harm than good. I think the thing to do now, I don't want to jump the gun, but Should we see if we can get it running? Let's change the oil, lash up something in terms of fuel, put a battery on it and see if we can get it chugging.
Yeah, why not?
All right.
The Ford Mondeo is a nailed-on icon already. Here's the important bit. You could win this car. All you have to do is get yourself along to amazon.co.uk/fixing up. That's amazon.co.uk/fixing up. You've got to be in it to win it.
Here we are at the Bench of Plenty. We have established that this car is structurally sound, which is an absolute godsend. Clive, what have you got to do on it?
Well, I've got to put a couple of new wheel arches in there because they need some attention, and I found another little hole at the back, but nothing really to worry about.
Excellent. We've got the wheel arches on order through Amazon, so that's all going to get done. Now, the next big hurdle is to make sure that it's mechanically sound, because if this engine isn't very good, or if it's not running, if it can't run, I'm afraid it's going to be game over as well. Before we try and get it running though, we want to make sure that what we put through it is clean. So Clive, what are you going to be doing at the back of the car?
Well, I'm going to, because the car came off the road due to a fuel pump problem, I'm going to put a new fuel pump in.
Yeah.
While I'm doing that, I'm going to take the tank off, clean it out, so we can start fresh there.
That's good practice, and of course we're going to change the fuel filter as well. While Clive's doing that, I'm going to be up at the front of the car. I'm going to drop the oil out of it that's in there already, because it's sat there for 5-6 years without the engine running. So that means that, you know, the top of the engine is going to be dry. I don't want to send dirty oil around a dry engine. I'll change the filter as well. So what I've got to do that with, I've got Castrol Magnatec 5W30, which is compatible with this engine, and we're going to be putting that in. We'll also be using Bosch filter, of course, only the best for this car. But before we get those two in action, we're going to make sure we clean everything off, and we'll use some liquid moly penetrating oil in order to make sure that all the nuts come off in one piece and that we don't have to stress and strain too much. I've got Amazon Basics PPE to put on as well, because anything splashing around, I don't want to get it in my eyes. I don't want to be ending up in A&E. And yeah. And we've got our special wrench as well. I'll show you how to use that in just a second. But for now, I think it's about time we got to work, isn't it?
Well, it's not going to do itself, is it?
That's very true. Let's get going. Right, let battle commence. First thing we're going to do, the first piece of work we're going to do on this car is we're going to loosen off the nut that's on the bottom of the sump. To help do that, I've got liquid moly Schnell Rostlosser. Clive,
I'll make the tea.
thank you. It's a rapid rust solvant, and basically it's also a penetrating lubricant as well. So I'm just going to squirt that onto the sump nut, because again, this has been on for 5 or 6 years. And it looks rusty on the outside. I can guarantee it's going to be rusty between the nut itself and the sump as well, which is aluminium. And of course, when aluminium and steel, the bolt will be steel and the sump is aluminium. Those two combinations don't often go together very well. Even though there is a plastic washer between the two, I don't trust it. So let that soak in for a second. I'm also going to go to the oil filter, which is inconveniently placed right up against the exhaust here at the front. I'm going to try and squeeze a bit over the top of that, because I'm pretty certain that the ring around the front of the oil filter will be rusty. That's going to be tight too, I can guarantee it. Trying to get a bit of the rust losser up there, draining onto the floor. Should have pulled that forward. Okay, so that's all. I'll let that soak in just for a second, and I'll give it a little try. 15mm spanner, and we'll give it a little go. So this has been soaking in for a couple of minutes, and I'm gently pulling it off, and it's coming. Yeah, that's moving. That's great. So the liquid moly has worked. Just making sure that this is positioned correctly underneath it, because it's going to come out. I can see it dribbling out now. Be very interested to see what colour this oil is, whether it had a change immediately before it came off the road, or whether it came off the road with a sump full of filthy oil. Let's have a look. It doesn't look too bad. It doesn't smell too bad either. There's no petrol-y smell. It doesn't smell burnt. Okay, while it's draining, it's going to take a few minutes because it's cold and it's thick, and I want to make sure that as much of it falls out of the engine as possible. I'm going to go around and just use some of the loose juice on some of the other nuts and threads that we might potentially be using. Good sound. So that's a really useful thing to do, actually, using the liquid moly rust solvent. I've gone around all of the brake components and suspension components we might need to take off at a later date and just soaked it. We might not be taking them off for a few days, but at least that gives the chance for this to penetrate into the rust and loosen it off, and it means that when we come to undo those nuts, it might be a bit easier. Now, it's time to replace the filter. And this is the correct filter from Bosch we've got here. We just ordered it up on Amazon. Again, you've all seen this before, but I'm going to say it again. I'm just going to use a little bit of the oil that's coming out of the engine to rub around the ring, give it a little bit of a chance to seal properly against both the engine and the filter housing as well. And you can see all the mating surfaces are now moist. I'm going to pop that back in there like that. So now it's time to get the old oil filter off the car. It might be a bit tricky, so I'm going to be using an Amazon Basics wrench and my special oil filter wrench tool as well. So let's give it a go, see if it'll come. Again, remember I've already put some loose juice on it to see if it'll get itself at least a little bit slackened off. Very tight, like I said earlier. Okay, now that tool is now gripping on the housing. I'm going to have to exert some real pressure. I've already felt it move though. That's good. That's great, actually. That's coming off a treat. I'm going to be able to take the tool away now, pop it back on the bench, position the drain under where I think the filter is going to be losing the oil, because some oil will come out as I remove it. There we go. It's a little bit dripping in now. I need to get some new gloves after this because it's already soaking them. Oh, it's very, very tight against the exhaust. There's not a lot of room. There we go. Okay, just withdraw it, and there it is. And again, another look at the quality. That is pretty manky, to be honest, so it's really worth doing this. So I'm now going to put this somewhere secure. I've got my handsome assistant to hand me some blue roll. Thank you very much, darling. There we go. And again, this has to be disposed of carefully in a specialist recycling site, but we're going to leave it just there for the moment. It's not going anywhere for now, and it's time to get a new one on. Now, because it's facing upwards, what I want to do is I want to prime this a little bit. It just means the oil gets around the engine more quickly, and that period of time when the engine is turning over and there's not any oil reaching the top of it is reduced if you prime the oil filter. Now obviously you can't do that on every car. Oh, here's a trick, by the way. You've got the little silver bit on top of an oil can like this one. Just squeeze the top a bit, pop it in the edge so it sits just inside the lip, and press down like that. And you can put your finger in and pull it all out, and that gives you a nice clean tear. Right, so I'm going to prime the oil filter with the Magnatec. I haven't really filled it to the top because this does still go on a bit of an angle. I don't want any of it to fall out, it's too precious. So I'm going to have a quick look up there. There's nothing else coming out now, so I'm just going to move the drain tray to the side. Let me get a little bit of blue roll up there and clean off the surface where it's meant to mate up to, because if there's any grit or anything like that, you don't want that to get trapped against the oil filter housing because that might cause a leak at some point. You don't want that. So a little bit of a clean, all looks as it should. I'm also going to wipe off the excess from the exhaust as well. It's always good to keep things a bit clean. That's going to smoke quite badly when the engine starts up, but it's completely unavoidable because of where the oil filter is actually positioned. And then we're going to get the new filter, which is already primed. We're going to pop it on the thread. It's quite a long thread. This is always the bit I find difficult, is getting it square onto the thread so it starts to screw in properly. I think I've done it though, first time. It needs to be firmly hand tight and no more. I'm not going to put that wrench back on it and give it a twist because it will never come off again. Also, in doing that, sometimes you put so much stress on the actual oil filter itself, you can distort it inside and then it stops functioning as it should. So one more twist. That's it, hand tight, that's not going anywhere. And that means we've got the oil filter on and I can put the plug back in the sump. That's stopped draining completely now. I'm going to pinch that up too. Now we could go straight to the back of the car now and have Clive doing his thing with the tank, but I'm of an age now where I'm bound to forget that I haven't refilled it with oil. So we're going to drop the car and put the oil in the top before I forget that I haven't actually done it. You have to think of your age these days. Again, not too tight, just tight enough. There is a Newton meter figure for that. Check your manual. But for the moment, we'll just tighten it up as tight as it felt when it came off. Okay, I'm going to go and dispose of the waste oil in a suitable container, and then we're going to drop the car. Okay, I like a clean engine bay, so do you, I know you do. At some point, this bay is going to get a really good detailing, and the last thing the detailer is going to want, or the person who's going to be doing it, probably me, is an oil-based detail. I mean, if you get oil on this aluminium, it's going to not polish up properly, so I want to avoid that at all costs. And that means I'm not going to just go straight in with the can as it is. What I'll do is I'll decant some of it into here so that by the time I actually use the can to pour the oil in, it won't be going glug, glug, glug. There you go. You want a nice smooth flow, and that way you can aim it properly. So here we go, there's about 1 litre in there now. Let's take the cap off. Now, in the manual, it says 5.5 litres of oil should go into the 2.5 litre V6. So I'll make sure we get to that point. So once this is done, I'll put the rest of that 5 litre tub of Magnatec in, and then I've got a little litre tub to finish off with. Let's see. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to do it all with the jug because the filler is quite a long way down from the edge of the engine. And to be honest, I don't really trust my aim that well. So in goes the last can. That is 5.5 litres of oil, which is what the book says it should be. However, we will take a measurement again on the dipstick once the engine has turned over to make sure that we haven't overfilled it, because there might be some residual oil left in. And that should be about right though. Right, you know that Fixing Up is a classic car restoration show where you can win cars that we restore. It's unique. But it's not just the car you can win. And by the way, if you want to, you've got to go to amazon.co.uk/fixingup. That's amazon.co.uk/fixingup. You can also win the kit we use to restore it with. And here it is in Kit Corner. Yes, 4 separate sets of products, 1 amazing prize. Let me take you through them. Here we have Amazon Basics tools. We've got this incredible socket set, 201 piece. That's the one piece there. You've got this amazing household tool set, absolutely extraordinary. 72-piece screwdriver set. You've got a miniature ratchet set. You've got some safety glasses for while you're doing it, and some microfiber cloths to mop up with at the end. But that's not all. We've also got products from our friends at Castrol. Castrol Magnatec 5W30 is what we're putting in the car. It's what we're using. Absolute tip-top oil. But you won't just be winning those 3 Magnatecs. You'll also be winning Castrol GTX. You'll be winning some high-temperature grease and some Castrol Classic 20W50 for your Classic. Absolutely fantastic prize. Our friends at Liqui Moly. Now, Liqui Moly do an incredible variety of stuff. We're using it on the car. You can win this selection here, which includes engine additives, automatic transmission fluid, some cleaner, some Schutz, and some injector cleaner as well. Finally, last but not least, we've got Bosch products. We've got this example of German technology as well. A fantastic Bosch drill set, comes with the batteries as well. You've got a Bosch torch. You've also got this fantastic Bosch battery charger, smart charger. You know that when Bosch do a smart charger, it's going to be a really good one. All of that can be won. Every single item you've just seen in Kit Corner, all you have to do is get yourself along to practicalclassics.co.uk/fixing-up. I'll say it again. practicalclassics.co.uk/fixing-up, and you can enter Kit Corner to stand a chance of winning it. Remember, you've got to be in it to win it, haven't you, Clive?
Yeah, are you quite finished?
I was born finished, mate.
Good, because I need to get home before my dinner's in the dog.
Yeah, I don't blame you. To be honest, we've put in a shift today, but I think we've got a viable project, haven't we? Remember, if you want to win the car, get yourself along to amazon.co.uk/fixing-up, and if you want to win the kit, get yourself along to practicalclassics.co.uk/fixing-up. Well, that's it for this time. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Next time on Fixing Up in association with Amazon, it's time to see if we can get our full Mondeo running. And that means dropping a fuel tank, cleaning it out, replacing the fuel pump, and crossing our fingers.